Look at you, war crime! Oh, thank you for joining me another episode of Beating Cancer Today, the podcast where hope meets action. I'm your host, Kevin Hennies, a stage 4 colorectal cancer survivor. Against all odds, I defied the doctor's predictions and took my health into my own. Now, I'm here to share my journey and alternative methods that help me. But it's not just about my story. It's about yours too. Join me as we navigate through the challenges of cancer together, providing support, insights, and empowerment. Together, we'll beat cancer, one episode at a time. Oh, what a year war cry! Oh, thank you to all of you guys, warriors out there for tuning into another episode of Beating Cancer Today, brought to you on our new website, btcancertoday.com. You can still find us on just about every social media platform, but after meeting a series of censorship events, I decided to circumvent the efforts of being stifled. We've been able to secure an offshore server, making Beating Cancer Today impervious to censorship now. The page is being added to and built up every day, and it's currently active. So check out btcancertoday.com. Follow, like, and subscribe on all of these videos so we can continue growing this platform and start funneling all of our viewers to the website. That's where we're going to have the most streamlined and accurate information and literature. We've got a lot to unpack today, and we're blessed to have a great guest with us tonight. Dr. Peter Glidden. He's a naturopathic doctor, and he's over 3 decades of clinical experience practicing it, writing about it, broadcasting it, and lecturing about it. He's famously known for cutting against the grain and coloring outside the lines, not conforming to the indoctrination of big pharma or the curriculum they wrote for the medical schools to abide by. Dr. Peter Glidden, please introduce yourself.
Thanks so much, Kevin. I appreciate the platform. I appreciate the time. Yeah, so I'm a licensed naturopathic physician, 35 years of clinical experience. And in order to become a licensed naturopathic physician in the U.S., you got to do 4 years pre-med. I did that at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. Then 4 years of a naturopathic medical school at a fully accredited by the United States Department of Education medical school. There are currently 4 fully accredited naturopathic medical schools in North America. Then about 1,000 hours of clinical supervision. Then you have to pass national boards. Then you have to pass state boards. Then you have to graduate. Then you have to get a license to practice naturopathic medicine. And then 25 hours of continuing education every year. It's full-blown primary care. But most people, regretfully, sadly, tragically, ironically, don't even know how to pronounce naturopathy, let alone know what a naturopathic physician is or why they should go to one.
Did I pronounce it wrong?
No, you did it right. It's naturopathy, naturopathic. It's, potato. You did a really good job of it, but most people have no idea what the heck I am or what my profession is. And more's the pity, because here's the deal. Naturopathic physicians are trained in the same anatomy and physiology and biochemistry and pathology of the disease and diagnostic science as medical doctors are. It's exactly the same. Where we are different, however, is very important, because we are trained in developing and delivering therapeutics which attempt to cure the condition. So rather than just medicate the high blood pressure, rather than just surgically remove the arthritic joint, we will attempt to uncover why you have high blood pressure, why you have the arthritic joint, or whatever, and fix it. Because we attempt to cure the condition every time we sit in front of somebody. And this is the opposite of what the medical doctors are trained in. Medical doctors do not practice medicine. Number one, they practice allopathic medicine. And allopathic medicine does not concern itself with cures. Under the treatment of an allopathic physician, your disease is managed. The heartburn is managed. The arthritis is managed. The depression is managed. The insomnia is managed. It's all managed. Your medical doctor doesn't even know how to cure heartburn, for goodness sakes, but they manage it. And under the care and treatment of a conventional allopathic MD, the older that you get, the sicker you get, the weaker that you get, the more drugs that you have to take. And then you go bankrupt and then you die because, oh yeah, well, the leading cause of bankruptcy in the US is medical bills, and the leading cause of death, or the third leading cause of death, depending on how you crunch the numbers, is MD-directed medical therapeutics. It's a shit show from top to bottom, and people need to extract themselves from it as quickly as they can.
Well, I mean, if I break my arm, I want to get an X-ray. I want to go to the doctor. I want to heal it. But as it pertains to the invisible things, I think that there's still a lot of guesswork to be had. Yeah.
Well, that's a point that's well taken, because your medical doctor practices allopathic medicine, right? They don't practice medicine. Nobody practices medicine. Medicine is a big umbrella under which many different disciplines hang. MDs practice allopathic medicine, which is based on Newtonian physics, which is reductionistic. So their wheelhouse is trauma care, military field medicine, surgery when it's necessary, the complications of childbirth. And by the way, that's where all of the advances in medicine in the last 100 years have been made, in the surgical theater. What the medical doctors can do now is surgery is unbelievable. That's what they do best. However, right, if all you have is a hammer, man, everything looks like a nail. So maybe you don't need the surgery, but the medical doctor doesn't know that, so they're going to recommend surgery because that's all that they're trained in. But you are correct that that is their wheelhouse. And in a perfect world, it would be illegal for a medical doctor, an allopathically trained medical doctor, to treat anything outside of trauma care and surgery and the complications of childbirth.
Well, I would also argue that in the world of oncology, it seems like they're all just practicing medicine. It doesn't seem like any of them have skin in the game, but they're all just kind of practicing until the treatment, the standard of care is normalized. A different standard of care, I should say, is normalized, such as the standard of care that you're referring to, outside that Western medicine scope.
Yeah. So, in the early 1900s in this country, there was a hostile takeover of the medical marketplace. It was instigated by the Carnegies and the Rockefellers. And in early 1900s, Congress granted the American Medical Association exclusive control over who could and who couldn't practice medicine. It was a hostile takeover of medicine, and it was sold to an unassuming American public as cleaning up the practice of medicine, getting rid of quack medicine. And it was bullshit. None of that happened. The intention was to firmly ensconce the medical doctors who were using pharmaceuticals, which profited the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, into first place. And they've maintained their position there through legislation. I mean, they have legislated themselves into power. And now medicine is a self-regulating, self-policing industry. The only thing that can legally treat a disease in the United States is a drug, which is ridiculous. And, it's a race to the bottom, especially with oncology.
I was talking to my producer before this interview, and we were talking about how you kind of approach things from a different angle, and you're not really afraid to talk about it. I nicknamed you the Sultan of Medical Honesty. And, I just kind of, threw a word salad together and kind of it sounded funny to me. You were the Sultan of Medical Honesty because you're never afraid to really tell it how it is. But
I appreciate that. That's an apt moniker, I think, because the only reason that I get up in the morning is to tell people the truth about things. And, the truth has a particular ring to it. And it's like the fella said, you're welcome to your own opinion, but you're most certainly not welcome to your own set of facts. And look, let's talk about cancer. Let's unpack that for a little bit right now, right? So,
well, hold on a second. Let's start far away from cancer. All right. And then we'll work our way back to it and talk about how it relates to this information. Let's start with cholesterol. My body makes cholesterol, and what I eat contains cholesterol. But does the dietary cholesterol contribute to the rise of the cholesterol in my blood? Or is that actually saturated fat that really moves the needle?
Well, so there's no such thing as high cholesterol. It's a myth. It's virtually impossible to have high cholesterol.
Doc, you're wrong because I'm on statins.
Yeah, well,
I
so
must have high cholesterol.
The research clearly shows that postmenopausal white women with total cholesterol over 400 live longer than anybody else. There is so much misinformation regarding cholesterol. It's not even funny. And the only reason that this vast amount of incorrect information persists is because of the medical monopoly.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay, all right, good. So there was a Russian medical doctor named Ufi Ravenskov. And Ravenskov did a meta-analysis of all of the research ever published anywhere in human history regarding cholesterol. He looked at all of it, 100% of it. He wrote a book about it. And his conclusions, after objectively looking at all the research ever published on anything having to do with cholesterol, is the following. There is no relationship between high cholesterol and heart disease. It does not exist. Let me say that again. There is no relationship between high cholesterol and heart disease. It does not exist. Cholesterol is necessary for human health. Your central nervous system is made from cholesterol. Like 75% of your brain and nerves is cholesterol. 95% of the part of the brain that's affected by Alzheimer's is made from cholesterol. Every wall of every cell in the body is made from cholesterol, and all of your hormones, including your sex hormones, are made from cholesterol. Cholesterol is so important to your body that your liver makes it.
No, HDL versus LDL versus
it's all
what your
myth.
liver
It's all just a bullshit myth, reality by consensus.
Well, what does your liver produce?
Well, so those things are real, but they have been qualified as good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, and that has become reality by consensus, and it's 100% bullshit, and here's why. So HDL and LDL are just carrier proteins. They're like little submarines in the body, and inside the submarine is cholesterol. So the HDL takes cholesterol from different parts of the body that's not being used and brings it back to the liver. LDL moves cholesterol from the liver to different parts of the body that need it. That's all that those two things do. That's all that they do. LDL moves cholesterol away from the liver into the body where it's needed, and HDL moves it from the parts of the body where it's not needed back into the liver for storage. That's all that they do. Since the medical doctors are of the false reality by consensus belief that cholesterol is the Antichrist, from their juvenile, dangerous position, cholesterol is bad. So anything that moves cholesterol away from the tissues of the body back into the liver, that's got to be good. That's what HDL is. And anything that moves cholesterol out of the liver into the tissues, well, that's got to be bad, because we all know that cholesterol is bad. And that's how the rationale has gone. That's how the reasoning's gone. And because the medical doctors are intellectual cowards, they will not bring any opposition to, the mainstream belief.
So,
and the main,
so the remedy to that is, it's.
There's no such thing as high cholesterol. It doesn't exist. You have to stop thinking that there is any such thing as high cholesterol. You can have total cholesterol. The only time I get concerned about total cholesterol is when it's over 500.
So,
and even then, if it's over 500, I don't give a shit about it, because the cholesterol is not going to hurt you. The question is, why is the cholesterol so high? We have to figure that out. And usually that's a pathology inside the liver. But look, here's the deal, man. So this isn't rocket science, okay? So if you put on a graph the introduction of statin drugs And statin drugs are cholesterol-lowering drugs, and statin drugs work by creating inflammation in the liver. They mess up the liver because the liver makes cholesterol. So the statin drug causes low levels of inflammation in the liver, so the liver doesn't make cholesterol anymore, so your total cholesterol levels drop. And what happens when your total cholesterol levels drop? You get erectile dysfunction, but don't worry, we have a little pill for that. If you're a woman, you get hot flushes of menopause for 5 years instead of 2 months. And then, oh yeah, let's not forget, your brain dries up and you get Alzheimer's. If you put on a graph the introduction of statin drugs to the marketplace and the rise of Alzheimer's, they parallel each other almost exactly. Now, correlation doesn't always go to causation in statistics unless it does. And we know that this is happening now because on the statin drugs now there's a black box label that says could cause dementia. So this is another ridiculous therapeutic brought to you by a self-regulating, self-policing medical monopoly that values profits over people and that does not pay attention to the actual research. And the medical doctors are so cowardly that they don't stand up and say anything about it. And the rare ones that do, they get fired. So they're not going to lose their livelihood.
Now,
and it's a shit show from start to finish.
Now, here's a question. So let's talk about the repurposed potential of a statin drug. If there's, well, as you know, like this is beating cancer today, right? So we talk about cancers, and some of the topics that come up with the cancer is hormonal-based cancers. And as we know, cholesterol is a hormone, right? So how would you classify that? Hormone, pre-hormone? How would you consider cholesterol?
Cholesterol is the precursor to all hormones.
Okay.
That's what hormones are made from. But you don't have cancer because you have hormones.
Well, the question here is if statins are used to reduce the cholesterol, and cholesterol is a precursor to hormones, if you reduce the cholesterol, could that potentially advantageously affect the cancer?
Well, it could, but it wouldn't be curative because you don't get cancer because you have hormones. Right? See, this is the fundamental disconnect here, right?
Okay.
Medical doctors are trained in Newtonian physics, which is reductionistic. So the medical doctor doesn't, if it can't be measured, it doesn't exist. So according to a medical doctor, there's no such thing as the spirit. There's no such thing as the soul. There's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as life after death. All of that is a fiction. It's a fiction. It does not exist. Your body is a bag of biochemicals waiting to break. Consciousness itself is a function of biochemistry. Consciousness dies when the body dies because the body creates consciousness. That's what the medical doctors think. So inside of this obtuse, juvenile, ridiculous understanding of how the human body works, it opens the door for all of these ridiculous therapeutics and all of these ridiculous ideas. But the tumor is not the disease. It is the result of the disease.
Okay.
So if you burn the tumor with radiation or melt it with chemo or surgically remove it, guess what happens?
It comes back because you haven't cured the result.
You haven't cured the cause
of
the condition. And the medical doctors, because they practice reductionism, are not concerned with the cause of the cancer. No, now, because they've had such an unbelievably horrible track record with cancer, now it's, it must be genetic. There must be a genetic switch that we haven't discovered yet, and that's got to be the reason everybody gets cancer, and that's nonsense. Because those of us in the alternative community are curing cancer left, right, and center.
Well, let's talk about...
Cancer is being cured in the world, and it has been being cured in the world for a long time. And it's not like I want to just qualify this, and Kevin, and excuse me for grandstanding here, but here's the deal, man.
You're good.
There's no such thing as cancer. There's no such thing as high blood pressure. There's no such thing as migraine headaches. There's no such thing as arthritis. You want me to prove it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like you to bring me 5 pounds of rheumatoid arthritis. Can you do that?
No.
All right, how about 10 pounds of migraine headaches? I'd like 10 pounds of migraine headaches, please. Can you do that?
Okay, I'm getting
How
the
about a
cannibal.
baker's dozen of asthma? Can you do that? No, you can't do it because diagnostic names are diagnostic names only. We have been socialized to believe that the illness is like a parrot that sits on the shoulder, and it's the doctor's job to figure out a therapeutic to kill the parrot. And then that therapeutic is going to be used to kill every other parrot every other time that shows up because medical doctors treat disease, which doesn't exist. There are people with arthritis. There are people with migraine headaches. There are people with cancer. You can't have a headache without the head. Holistic physicians treat the person, not the disease, because the disease is a function of what's happening inside the individual. So, in order for you to recover from arthritis or prostate cancer, might be a completely different therapeutic than for your brother to recover from arthritis or prostate cancer, because we don't treat the disease, we treat the person. But we've all been socialized to think that it's the disease that's the thing, and it's not. It doesn't exist. The person exists.
Well, I've been
And it,
to 5 of the top cancer hospitals in the U.S. and all 5 of them had a cookie cutter approach. They say that this is the gold standard of care. You're at one of the top hospitals. Is somebody going to give me the silver standard? What does that mean? You're at the gold standard, but it was all the same. It was cookie cutter. It was cookie cutter treatment. No matter where I went.
Yeah, and it's nuts, man. And look, thank God for insulin. Thank God for lidocaine. Thank God for general anesthesia, right? Every time I'm in the dentist chair, I thank God for lidocaine, for goodness sakes. This is not a diatribe against drugs. This is a diatribe against stupid medicine. This is a diatribe against a monopolized medical system, which has a jackbooted control over all things medical and which delivers piss poor results. Since the medical doctors have been in complete, utter, and total control of the development and delivery of medicine since 1912, more or less, chronic disease is escalating. And when it comes to cancer, they don't even talk about cure anymore. It's all 5-year survivability now.
Well, I feel like we've glossed over some of the biggest aspect of cholesterol. Can we circle back just for a second? Yeah. I understand that elevated blood sugar contributes to elevated cholesterol, especially in the context of diabetes. No?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
No. So, well, if my diet or my lifestyle is out of whack.
Well, the medical doctors will tell you that those things are related. They will tell you that blood sugar causes obesity and that obesity causes high blood pressure and that high blood pressure causes all kinds of things, but they're wrong.
Oh, you're losing me, Doc.
Okay. These things do not each cause the other. They are all different arms of the same octopus.
Okay.
They are all caused by one single root cause that the medical doctors are completely blind to.
What is its root cause?
I'm going to tell you what it is in a minute. But here's the deal. Okay, this is what it's kind of like. Let's say that we're back in Christopher Columbus's day and we have our sextant, right? And we measure the position of the sun in the sky 10 times a day for 1 year. We have 3,650 data points. I can tell you exactly where the sun's going to be in the sky on March 10th at noon. I can tell you exactly where it's going to be. And I've got all of these data points. And now I can use these data points to come to the conclusion that, well, it's obvious, and I've got the data to prove it, the sun goes around the earth. But that's not what happens, because we are missing a very important data point, that the earth rotates on its axis. And it is the rotation of the earth on its axis that causes the apparent movement of the sun. That one data point changes everything. And this is the problem with medicine. The medical doctors practicing allopathic medicine have blinders on. They only see this much. They do not see the bigger picture. And because they do not see the bigger picture, they miss everything. And when they miss things, they miss them big. And this is why chronic disease is escalating. It's not because you have a bad gene. It's not because you're getting older. And it's not because of chemtrails, which are a very real thing. It's because 4 things. Number 1, there are 90 essential nutrients that your body needs to function the way that nature intended it to. 90. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 2 fatty acids. These are essential nutrients that your body needs just to function. A nutrient is called essential if you need it, but you can't make it. So your body needs calcium, can't make it. Your body needs magnesium, can't make it. Your body needs vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, can't make it. Your body needs omega-3 essential fats, can't make it. There are 90 nutrients that your body needs just in order to function. You know, it's like your automobile needs oil, needs transmission fluid, needs air in the tires, right? So here's how many nutrients the human body needs. This is my invisible tank. Here's how many nutrients are in the body because these nutrients are no longer in the food, and that was done on purpose. And then you experience the stress of life, your nutrient reserves tank, and then things start to break. High blood pressure. The main cause of high blood pressure is a deficiency in calcium and magnesium. Fibromyalgia. The main cause of fibromyalgia is a deficiency in selenium. Type 2 diabetes. The main cause of type 2 diabetes is a deficiency in chromium and omega-3 essential fats. Your body needs this stuff, but it's not in the food. And over time, you start running on empty, and then things start to break. So obesity is caused by nutrient deficiencies. Type 2 diabetes is caused by nutrient deficiencies. High blood pressure is caused by nutrient deficiencies. This is the root cause of the genesis of all chronic disease. And then you add into that nutrient deficient system environmental toxins, which create an unbelievable metabolic burden. And then you add into that system parasitic infections, which create an unbelievable burden. And then you are consistently, unwittingly, every freaking day, eating food that's causing inflammation in your body. Every day, all the time. It's like putting diesel fuel into an unleaded engine, and then you wonder why the car doesn't run. It's because you're listening to people give you advice who have no training, no experience, no respect, and no appreciation for applied medical nutrition. Zero. They've got none, and they should shut up about it, quite frankly.
Well, you know, it would be one thing if the drugs that they were giving you was addressing the problem, but like what percentage of what percentage do statins actually reduce cholesterol? Like, how much do they actually
reduce cholesterol, but they don't do anything to heart disease. There is a beneficial effect on the heart from statins, but it has nothing to do with lowering cholesterol. Nothing to do with lowering cholesterol. And you don't get heart disease because you have a statin drug deficiency. You get it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You don't get heart disease because you have a statin drug deficiency. You don't get heartburn because you have a Prilosec deficiency. You don't get depression because you have a Prozac deficiency. But this is what we've been enculturated to believe because, the medical doctor is king and whatever the medical doctor says is great. Until they're proven wrong, and then there's no apologies, and they just move on. So everybody in the world was bled to death back in George Washington's day because that was the standard of care at the time. And if you didn't do that, you're excommunicated and so forth and so on. It's a shit show, Kevin, from start to finish.
Well, it sounds like you and I agree that there's a lot of propaganda out there, but how do you feel about the lengths of the powers to be, that the lengths that they went to in an effort to betray the human population, the falsifying studies to steer or direct people into eating certain things, the indoctrination of the medical school curriculum by Big Pharma.
It's genius. I mean, it was genius.
I mean,
and the more that the older that I get, and the more clinical experience that I get, and the more remarkable recoveries that I see from people, And the more that I understand about the research, it is
Clear.
clear to me that it is an evil situation which was laid out a long time ago in a stepwise manner in order for everything to be controlled.
I mean, certain things had to unfold in a certain way in order for things to happen. And that took more than just Rockefeller. That took
That's right.
complicit people. It took people acting in concert.
It's insidious, man. It's insidious.
The misdirection about cholesterol that you were just talking about, that was campaigned by the sugar industry. Talking about,
You know what causes blood vessels to get clogged up? You know what causes that?
Tell me, Doc.
Chlorine.
Oh, well, hold on. Rewind. Chlorine
in the water, chlorinated water.
Causes blood vessels to.
Oh, so here's how it goes. Okay.
Please.
Okay. So there are inflammatory biochemicals called free radicals. And a free radical is basically an oxygen atom that's lost an electron. And an oxygen atom that's lost an electron will stick to whatever it can. It's like metabolic Velcro. And when a free oxygen radical sticks to something, that something becomes oxidized. What happens to iron when it becomes oxidized? It turns into rust. What happens to bananas when they become oxidized? They rot. What happens to mountains when they become oxidized? They turn into dust. Oxidation destroys things. So free radicals in the body are a big bad voodoo daddy because they destroy things. Okay. So now we've got chlorine that's been added into the water. And when chlorine enters into the bloodstream, it creates free radicals. And the free radicals flow into the blood vessels. And it's just, ever been camping? Like you go camping and you're along the river and you see the winding river, and isn't that beautiful? And well, every time the river takes a bend, there's a beach, because that's fluid dynamics, right? The little particles that the river is carrying along pile up on the shore when the river takes a bend. It's the same in the human body. So there's free radicals that are causing inflammation. And they get in for a lot of reasons, like, you breathe in automobile exhaust, you got free radicals in the blood. You eat food that's got pesticides on it, you got free radicals in the blood. You got chlorine in the water, there's free radicals in the blood. And these free radicals are floating in the blood, and they pile up on the side of the blood vessel when it takes a bend. Now, when you have free radicals piling up on the side of a blood vessel, what are they going to do? They're going to oxidize the wall of the blood vessel. Now, remember, the body has wisdom. The body knows that's happening. The body knows if that continues to happen, the blood vessel is going to rupture and you're going to bleed to death, buddy. So what does the body do? Fixes the freaking problem. How does it do that? It puts a cholesterol bandage over the area of inflammation so your blood vessel isn't going to burst. But what does that do? That creates more turbulence at the bend of the blood vessel, which causes more free radicals to build up right there, which causes more inflammation, which causes more cholesterol deposition, more inflammation, more cholesterol deposition. And if you took the time to do an autopsy of someone who's died from atherosclerotic plaque in the blood vessels, the widowmaker in the widowmaker artery, you will see unequivocally 100% of the time that the cholesterol deposition starts at the bend of the artery and it builds out from there. So the cholesterol is the cure for the inflammation, which is caused by the free radicals, the major donor of which is chlorine in the water and fried food. Fried food is a giant contributor of free radicals in the human body, a giant contributor.
And it stays with you for a while, doesn't it?
Long time. There was an epidemiologist from Harvard called Lucien LePage, and he did a map of the U.S. county by county. It was color coded, and it was life expectancies in the U.S. Which counties have the longest lived people, which counties have the shortest lived people, and it was like all of the states below the Mason-Dixon line had the shortest life expectancies of anybody in the U.S. And it was dramatic. It wasn't subtle. It was dramatic. If you live below the Mason-Dixon line, you live shorter than everybody else. Why is that? I don't know if you've ever been to the South, but fried food is a freaking religion.
Lard, a lot of lard, a lot of lard in the South.
Fried food for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. And there's a nasty free radical contributing chemical called acrylamide that's in fried food. And that causes inflammation, causes inflammation, causes inflammation, causes inflammation, doesn't stop, causes inflammation. And here's so many nutrients your body needs to fight the inflammation. Here's so many nutrients the body has, so it can't keep up.
But Doc,
and then you die.
But
before you die, you go bankrupt, and then you die.
But Doc, how do you know what to believe nowadays? I mean, what about the food companies bribing the scientists and the food regulatory agencies to endorse their products as being healthy? But in fact, the foods that they're passing contain ingredients that are made to addict people. A lot of the stuff is addictive. It's really triggering addiction. A lot of sugars, but it's kind of like a pay for play thing. You really don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, you believe me.
Well,
look. Somebody has to win the gold medal, right? Somebody has to be number one. Somebody has to know the truth. Somebody has to. And I'm telling you, it's me. I don't know everything. We learn new stuff all the time. But my profession's therapeutics are built upon natural law. And natural law never changes. So in our profession, we add things because we learn new things, but we never subtract. Allopathic medicine, MD-directed pharmaceutical centrist reductionistic medicine, they subtract all the time. First, it's, bloodletting. You got to bleed the bad humors out. Oh, sorry, we were wrong. We're going to scrap that. Then it's, large doses of camphor, large doses of mercury, large doses of calomel. We got to purge the body. Oh, sorry about that. We got to scrap that. And then in the 60s in this country, it was every woman needs a hysterectomy. Every woman needs a hysterectomy. If you're over 35, you got to get a hysterectomy. Oh, sorry, we got to scrap that. And then it was Premarin. Well, every woman needs Premarin, and we need Premarin because we have to have the hormones when we're 60 years old for a 30-year-old woman. Oh, sorry, we can't do Premarin because, by the way, it causes breast cancer. So they scrap that. And over and over and over. There are over 100 drugs and medical devices which were approved by the Food and Drug Administration, which there are currently lawsuits against.
Well, I often wonder why all the major networks, they're running these Keytruda ads and Ozempic and Rybelsus and all these big pharma drugs and everything. You got a bunch of fat people running around. Hey, hey, hey. It's like a big musical. And, they're running around waving their hands and riding bicycles and skateboards and shit in a fake setting. Like somebody's pushing a car down the street behind it because it's not real, And things like that don't happen. That big fat person who's got type 2 diabetes doesn't exercise. That's why they have what they have. But I often wonder why is it those things aren't sold directly to the consumer? So why are they running these ads on TV? Could it be?
I'll tell you why. I know why they're doing it.
Okay, can we talk about that?
Because it works.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like the majority of these are run on the news networks, and the reason why they're run on news networks, I mean, they're selling me this stuff, but I think it's a reciprocity. Like, they won't report on the big pharma companies because they're paying for them to continue their channel.
That's the other side of it. So there's a quid pro quo, right? So the networks that are running all of the pharmaceutical ads, making bank on all the pharmaceutical ads, it is big money for the networks. They are not going to do negative news presentations against the pharmaceutical. They're simply not going to do it. So it's kind of like, it's not really censorship, but it's just, we're not going to go there, boys. We're not going to present that information. We're not going to tell people that what was the name of that drug? Very famous drug, Vioxx. We're not going to tell people that Vioxx killed 50,000 people. We're not can't do that. Let's not do that. We're not going to tell that.
Well, that's, I think, believe what they call a lie by omission, right? But what about,
yeah, 100% correct.
Yeah, it's changing the details, or.
But here's what it's like, man. We would not be okay if Congress voted tomorrow to make Anheuser-Busch the czar of alcohol, and only Anheuser-Busch gets to say who can make and who can sell alcohol in the United States. We'd be infuriated by that.
Yeah.
We would not be okay if Congress passed a law that said the only people who can manufacture automobiles in the United States is Subaru. Nobody else can make cars. We would have a pitch a fit, because we understand in our bones that a monopoly is not a good thing. And absolute power corrupts absolutely is not a good thing. But we've had a medical monopoly for over 100 years. It's literally killing us. And everybody's okay with it.
Well, it's absolutely a monopoly. They didn't they defund all the schools that didn't conform to big pharma curriculum?
100%.
I mean,
and let me give you an update on this, because that's all in the past, and who gives a crap about the past, right? But here's the present situation. I told you what I needed to do in order to become a naturopathic doctor. 4 years pre-med, 4 years naturopathic medical school, 1,000 hours of clinical supervision, pass national boards, pass state boards, graduate, get a license, 25 hours of continuing education credit every year. And yet, it's a felony for me to practice naturopathic medicine in the great state of Tennessee. It's a misdemeanor for me to practice naturopathic medicine in the state of Florida. And my profession is only currently licensed and regulated in 26 states. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that the laws of nature, the laws of science change when you cross the state line? No. It's all about turf. It's all about control. It's all about keeping the monopoly in place, for goodness sakes. And this is why I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, it seems like big pharma, regardless of the lateral movement that doctors have, they into different specialties or whatever. It seems like big pharma does a pretty good job of incentivizing things for doctors.
No, it's huge. I mean, and it's the rare physician in the 21st century. There are some. I'm one of them.
What about chemotherapy? Is that monetized? Like, is that a?
Well, so if you look at how much money the pharmaceutical industry makes on this drug, that drug, the next drug, this drug, that drug, the next drug, way out in front of all the other drugs, the chemotherapy drugs. And here's how that goes. If you're an oncologist, you in the hospital pitch in and you buy the chemotherapy drug. I'm making numbers up here, but they're pretty close. Let's say you buy the drug for $3,000. You sell it to the patient for $20,000, and you and the hospital split the difference. What's incentivized?
That's quite the incentive.
And those numbers might not be accurate, and I might be exaggerating, but nonetheless, your oncologist gets a cut from the chemotherapy drug, and it's it's giant money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like $20,000 a dose, for goodness sakes. You got to be freaking kidding me. And it would be one thing if it cured the cancer.
It's not curing anything.
But it doesn't.
It's not eradicating disease. I've never seen anything that shows that it eradicates disease. But
I have 13 questions on my website that every cancer patient needs to ask their oncologist in the presence of a witness and a recording device. Just politely, just ask these questions. And if the oncologist will answer these questions, then it is the rare human being who would engage with their therapeutics. Most people ask more questions about the car they're going to buy than the cancer treatment that they're just going to blindly jump into because they trust their doctor. And that is the biggest mistake that people make. And I am not saying that your doctor is a sadistic, money-grubbing nincompoop. I am not saying that. But what I am saying is your doctor does not practice medicine. Your doctor practices allopathic medicine.
And
And allopathic medicine is really, really, really good for military field medicine, surgery when it's necessary, trauma care, the complications of childbirth. But for everything else, you should run from your medical doctor as fast as you can, because their therapeutics are not intended to cure your condition. Their therapeutics will make you weaker and more dependent on the drugs and surgery as you get older. And oh, by the way, in the United States, 80% of our healthcare dollars are spent in the last 5 years of your life. With all these heroic attempts to extend your life for one more week, one more month, one more year. Why? Because your health is in the shitter. Why is your health in the shitter? Because you've been managing the problem your entire life. You've never been fixing anything. And oh yeah, by the way, while you were paying outrageous amounts of money in medical insurance premiums every month, medical insurance premium money, you got sick while you were under the care of the medical doctor.
you didn't get
When
better.
everybody's okay with that.
You didn't get better. They just continued to fund it. Hey, can we talk about the immediate gratification and the shortcuts that people find to avoid the hard work of, let's say, weight loss? Like the that Ozempic thing that they're doing out in Hollywood there, where they're using it for weight loss and stuff. But by using it for weight loss, doesn't that mess up other stuff in your body, so like in the gut? Like is it 90% of your gut?
You
Like
can't drug your
serotonin?
way to health.
I'm sorry?
I mean, you can't drug your way to health. You can't do it. If you take a pharmaceutical into the body, there are going to be side effects. Number one. And number two, the intention of the pharmaceutical was never meant to fix the problem. The intention of the pharmaceutical was meant to manage the problem, because the medical doctor does not think that the problem can be fixed. They do not think you can cure it. They don't.
Yeah.
Because that's not their experience. That's not their training. And every other doctor in the world who has curative experience is murdered or sidelined or deplatformed or made bankrupt because, well, we can't even talk about a cure, ladies and gentlemen. Can't do that. Cure has become a 4-letter word in medicine, and that should make people really pissed off. But I don't know what it's going to take for people to snap out of it and stop genuflecting at the altar of allopathic medicine, because again, I have a lot of friends who are medical doctors, right? Dave Janda, world famous orthopedic surgeon. We're good friends. I respect what he did because it was surgery when it was necessary, well, most of the time. But he had really bad arthritis in his neck, and we fixed it with medical nutrition. No surgery necessary. Fixed it, completely fixed it. He doesn't have it anymore. Plus, oh, by the way, he lost weight. Plus, oh, by the way, he's got more energy than he ever had before. Well, why is that? Because, well, his body's nutrified for the first time in his life, and he's not eating food that's causing inflammation in the body. And he's giving his body a chance to heal itself. And this is what we need. You need to give your body a chance to heal itself, because it can. Well, your body can heal itself.
I mean, how many chapters did you have in medical school? How many chapters of nutrition did you have?
Well, I had.
Not. I'm talking about your initial medical school, not your specialties.
Well, so in naturopathic medical school, we're trained we have a lot of hours of medical nutrition. MDs have like one.
Yeah.
I talked to Janda about that. He said the only medical nutrition that he got was don't eat polar bear liver, because you can get vitamin A toxicity from polar bear liver. So don't do that. That's the extent of his medical nutrition training.
I think that there's a metabolic message that's being screamed loud and clear to this whole cancer approach and the metabolic theory of cancer treatment. I am a big fan of that theory. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I'm halfway there with it. There's a guy named Jerry Tennant. He's a medical doctor. And he wrote a book called The Electrical Nature of Disease or something like that. I can't remember. But his theory about cancer is that cancer can only exist in cells that their electrical potential has diminished beyond a certain threshold. And that was proven, by the way, by a guy that won the Pulitzer Prize or the Nobel Prize in medicine. He proved that cells cannot become cancerous if their electric potential is above a certain degree. And I forget how many millivolts it is. I forget. But if the electrical potential of the cell drops below that threshold, then cancer will develop. And Tennant developed a whole theory as to why that happens.
And that's where they developed that frequency theory and all the beds and stuff that they're coming out with.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But look, here's the deal. I'll get you the book if I can find it. I've got it here somewhere. Yeah. There's a doctor in India. His name is Ramakrishnan, A.U. Ramakrishnan. All he does is homeopathy. And I'll tell you about homeopathy in a minute. It's the most misunderstood system of medicine in the world. And just using homeopathy with patients, he has unbelievable successes with cancer. All he does is treat cancer, and all he does is use homeopathy. And I'm looking for the stats here. Bone cancer. These are his statistics. In India, just using homeopathy, no metabolic theory, no diet, no herbs, no vitamins, nothing, just homeopathy. 81% success rate with bone cancer, 83% success rate with brain cancer, 86% success rate with breast cancer, 78% success rate with bladder cancer, cervical cancer, 76%, colon cancer, 67%, Hodgkin's lymphoma, 81%, larynx cancer, 81%, leukemia, 81%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now you think that if we had a just, fair, and free medical market, which was concerned with the health of humanity, that this guy, his office, would have been inundated with researchers from all over the world who want to know what the hell he's doing and how it's working. And, there are these people who spontaneously, they'll do the anti-parasite program like Tippins, right? No cancer. You would think that shit would be investigated by people from Harvard, right? Let's put $1 billion into that, ladies and gentlemen, because that guy cured his cancer by doing what? You got to be kidding me. Let's figure that out. You would think that would happen.
Well, Doc, you probably aren't familiar with my story, I guess, but I actually was on the doorsteps of hospice, and they discontinued my treatment, and I went on fenbendazole, a fenbendazole-based cocktail there, and I just had my 16th clean scan, so.
Why isn't that being investigated?
I go to Moffitt, they're still scratching their heads. They said,
why isn't that being investigated?
Yeah, well, they're still telling me that I have less than a 1% chance of being alive in August. And I feel incredible. I feel invincible. I still take the fenbendazole like my life depended on it, because I honestly believe it does. So.
Well, you need to start nutrifying as well and clean up your diet a little bit, because that can't hurt. But you are a perfect example, right? See, and this is the problem with an self-regulating, self-policing monopoly, which is populated by intellectual cowards who care more about their paycheck than they do about advancing science, right? So medical doctors are trained to believe that if they were not taught it in medical school, it's simply not valid. Even when they have evidence to the contrary, cognitive dissonance prevents them from accepting it, embracing it, and investigating it. This happens to us all the time. I'll give you a story.
Go ahead.
I'm 2 years out of medical school. I'm practicing in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, because that's where I grew up. And a little 9-year-old girl comes to see me. Her parents bring her to see me. She has reflex sympathetic dystrophy. which is a really nasty neurological disease. She had it from the waist down. And if you touched her on her thigh, it would feel to her like you just hit her with a hammer. It was bad. And she was treated at Children's Hospital for, I think, 4 years before her parents brought her to see me. They brought her to see me because at Children's Hospital, they had bumpkiss for her. They did painful physical therapy. She wasn't getting any better. They did not know what to do. So they bring her to see me on a Friday. I give her a homeopathic medicine. It costs like $10. She comes back to see me on Monday. Her parents are in the waiting room before I got to the office. They got tears in their eyes. I think their daughter freaking died. That's what I thought when I walked in the office. No. Her daughter didn't die. Her daughter was completely cured of reflex sympathetic dystrophy in 3 days.
Wow.
Complete cure from a $10 medicine.
Was that an anti-parasitic?
No, it was a homeopathic treatment for her condition, and I'll tell you all about that in a minute because there's a lot to unpack there.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. So she's got a regularly scheduled visit at Children's Hospital, right? And Children's Hospital is a teaching hospital. And because her case was so rare, every time she went to Children's Hospital, she was seen by like 10 doctors, right? So she goes back to Children's Hospital after she's been going to Children's Hospital for 4 years, and she's cured. They do all of the testing. They do all of the blood work. They can't freaking believe it. She's cured. Oh my God. They ask the parents, what did you do? The parents say, well, we took her to a naturopathic doctor and he gave her a homeopathic medicine. The parents told me that when they said that, all the doctors in the room got up and left. These people were 2.5 hours away from my office. Not one of them called me. Not one of them visited my office to figure out what I'd done. And it's the same with cancer. It's the same with heart disease. It's the same with everything else. This brought to you by the medical monopoly, which instills cognitive dissonance into their practitioners to such an extreme degree that even when they see cures, which are outside of their realm of possibility, they cannot accept it.
Well, it's one thing to not be curing stuff. It's another thing to be making moves to be downright harmful. I mean, let's talk about the vaccine. Let's talk about the COVID vaccination.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother level of nefarious.
Are they still putting the SV40 tissue into the vaccine? Do you know?
I don't know, but I know there's nanotech in it. I know for a fact there's nanotech in it.
Yeah, I mean,
a colleague of mine 4 weeks ago, this happened in May, longer than 4 weeks now. He developed the only effective antidote that I'm aware of for the COVID vaccines. And I was looking for effective antidotes for a long time. He figured it out and he developed it and he was rated by the FDA.
He was rated?
His office was raided by the Food and Drug Administration. They came in with guns and they took all of his equipment and they still haven't charged him with anything. And it's been 8 weeks later.
Just recently.
This happened in May.
Come on. I mean, you read about stuff, you hear people talk about that stuff, but that really happens?
Well, I'll give you the guy's name. You can interview him.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. I mean, absolutely. I'd love to do that. There's just, there's not a lot of conversation like this happening. And I feel like there needs to be
as bad as you think it is, now that you've had your eyes open from your cancer experience and looking at everything that happened with COVID, as bad as you know it is, I'm telling you, based on 35 years of clinical experience, it's 1,000 times worse.
Wow.
Because it's a monopoly.
That's a big statement, Doc.
It's the numbers don't lie. Chronic disease is getting worse. Autism is through the roof. Alzheimer's is through the roof. Heart disease rates remained unchanged after, $50 billion of statin drugs every year, however much it is, 20 billion, I think. Unchanged. The rates remain unchanged. Life expectancy is getting shorter. I mean, chronic disease is escalating. Bobby Kennedy says if he's elected president, he's going to fix chronic disease. Bullshit. We know what to do to fix chronic disease. We're doing it. My colleagues and I are doing it. We've been doing it for 100 years. What we need is a free medical market. What we need is to eliminate the Food and Drug Administration. What we need is comprehensive ability, medical freedom. We need medical freedom. And the pharmaceutical industry in no way, shape, or form will ever allow that. So we're all screwed, glued, and tattooed.
Well, I mean, in today's age, in today's world, I think that we have the advantage of doing things like this remotely. You know, and people like yourself are good enough to make yourselves available to people that are not so close. Like you're easily reached. Like you're actually, you actually will talk to somebody and coach them through actual medical um, avenues and medical treatments and things of that nature. I don't know how that plays with being in other states where you might not practice, or I don't know really how that works, but I do know that information, there's a lot of information out there, but it's a whole different story when you're getting it from an educated doctor. For me, it's a validation of sorts. You've been through the training. Why am I going to try to reinvent the wheel? Something that you dedicated your entire life to, and you have the answers. Why am I going to try to scour the universe and search for these answers when they're readily available to me through contact with you?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I'm about to blow your mind a little bit here. Okay.
Okay.
So put something heavy on your head because I'm going to make it explode. All right. So because of the medical monopoly, which has existed for longer than anybody's been alive, there are a few things which we have been socialized to believe, which are simply not true. Number one, we've been socialized to believe that healing is a complicated, sophisticated metabolic process, and only the eggheads with the pen caddies and the calculators and the super high IQs can figure that shit out. Only, the pre-med students are smart enough to figure that out. That's a lie. Healing the body is easy. Surgery is complicated. I don't recommend that, you get a scalpel from eBay and go to Mexico and get lidocaine and then operate on your wife's or your girlfriend's shoulder for their arthritis. I don't recommend that you do that. But learning how to heal the body is really easy. And I've been doing this for 35 years, Kevin. 35 years. And 83% of the time, people don't need a private appointment with someone like me. They just need someone to tell them what to do. And they need someone with clinical experience to tell them what to do. I mean, Dave Janda was a perfect example. I didn't have a private appointment with him. He told me he had arthritis. I told him what supplements to take. I told him what homeopathic medicines to take. I told him what foods not to eat. He did it, and the arthritis went away. We have given my protocols, or the protocols that myself and my colleagues have developed, they're not my protocols, right? We have given these therapeutics to 10,000 people over the last 9 years. 83% of them, 8,300 out of 10,000, had complete recoveries of whatever it was they were bothered by. Now, cancer is different. Neurological disease is different, because for those things, you do need a private appointment. It's the Tippin story and your story are the exceptions that prove the rule, right? You had the recovery from generic information. You didn't need a private appointment with somebody, right? And there's something there that needs to be investigated. But it's never going to be investigated by conventional medicine, because a patient cured is a customer lost. So for the last 15 years, I've had a number of come to Jesus moments in my professional career. Humbling. And one of them was, well, son of a bitch, most people don't need a private appointment with someone like me. Most people just need to know what to do. And by the way, there's maybe 300 licensed naturopathic doctors in the world that I would trust to
Refer,
refer a friend or family member to, where there's 300 million people in the US, there's a big bottleneck there, man. So because I know a thing or two, and because of what I've seen on my website, I have self-help health recovery protocols that myself and my colleagues have actually seen work. So you've got asthma and you're tired of taking the stupid inhalers. You go to my website, you become a member, you point and click on asthma, I tell you what to do. You've got arthritis, you point and click, I tell you what to do. You want more information about the whole cholesterol thing, you point and click, I tell you what to do. You want more information on the whole weight loss thing, you point and click, I tell you what to do. You want more information on the whole evolution of medicine in the US and why it's so messed up, you point and click, I tell you what to do.
So you're accessible.
And yeah, but I'm telling you, man, I don't want patients. I want students. I don't want to give somebody a fish. I want to teach them how to fish. And the hardest thing for people to really get is that 83% of the time, you don't need a private appointment. You just need to know what to do. And I'm going to tell you what to do with the information based on my website. And that's why I put it together.
And when you go to, in today's structured Western medicine world with the insurance companies and whatnot, you go to your primary care physician. Everything has to start with your PCP. So you go to your primary care physician, then you have to get them to refer you to somebody else. So now you've got appointments there, just to get to the end result of not actually getting treated for
the cause.
So now, instead of going through all those steps, they could just get on your website and go directly to you. And what's the website?
Well, I want to direct people to my website through your link.
Yeah, so I posted it. I posted the link on this video. Actually, it's posted, and also I posted it on our Facebook group page. It's in the featured section, and yeah, so the best part about this is I've spent a lot of time surfing on your site, and it's just an education that I've applied to my lifestyle, and it's really something that I think is advantageous for people to look, even if you're not sick. I think it's really something that you should look into.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, because I'm telling you, man, people are suffering needlessly simply because they don't know what to do. You know what it's like, man? It's like everybody was given a car when they were 25 years old, but nobody was ever taught how to change the oil, or how to put new air filters in it, or how even to put air in the tires, or what even gasoline to use. So everybody's driving around in these cars that are 50 years old that have never been tuned up, and they get used to the car running like crap. And they look around and everybody else's car runs like crap too, because nobody in this society has been taught what to do to make yourself healthy. Nobody has been taught it. And again, this from the Department of Redundancy Department. Your medical doctor may be the nicest person God ever created, but your medical doctor does not practice medicine. They practice allopathic medicine. And allopathic medicine does not concern itself with curing you. It concerns itself with managing your condition. It should be illegal for a medical doctor to say that they practice healthcare, because they don't. You don't get healthier under their care. It's disease management. Now, if it said on the side of your hospital, disease management, which would be truth in advertising, you might think twice about going there, but that's what needs to happen. But that's never going to happen because of the medical monopoly. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're finally starting to pick yourself up and pop out of the medical matrix and look around, and you are interested in alternatives, well, I'm your huckleberry. And that's just my game.
You know what? I totally feel betrayed by the Food and Drug Administration, I feel betrayed by all of this information that I'm opening my eyes to now. I feel like,
Yeah, you should
you
be.
know,
I mean, you should, because you have been.
society has completely brainwashed and marketing, guerrilla marketing, and I just kind of feel betrayed. So this is like a breath of fresh air, hearing somebody talk so freely about it. I could imagine on social media, I get whacked with being throttled back. A lot of my followers can't find me from day to day because I get throttled a lot on Facebook, and YouTube doesn't like me much either. But now with beatingcancertoday.com, we don't get censored anymore. So I'm so glad that now I have the proper platform to broadcast your information on.
Well, you should do my advice, because I've been doing, I was one of the first doctors in the world. This was way before COVID, to do telemedicine. I was one of the first doctors in the world to have an informational website. And, Mercola, Dr. Mercola has, I think, the most visited alternative medicine website in the world. But his stuff, it's all flavor of the month, echinacea is the cure for everything. And, oh, you got to use ginkgo. And, oh, you got to use, and, whatever. But the information that I bring to the public forum is clinically verified. This is the stuff that myself and my colleagues have actually seen work. This is what we do. And this is what you should do in order to give your body a freaking fighting chance. It's not a guaranteed cure. It's not, because remember, we don't treat the disease, we treat the person, and everybody's different. But for goodness sakes, I mean, if you were to go out in 10 degree below zero Fahrenheit weather to shovel your driveway, you would not do that in your bathing suit and flip-flops, because the stress of the cold air would kill you, could hurt you, could kill you. But if you bundle up, you can sleep on the freaking ice if you want. There are things that you have learned to do to protect yourself moving through the world. I'm telling you that there are easy things that you need to learn to do to protect yourself medically. And you are not ever going to be told that by conventional medical doctors, because they're not trained in it.
Well,
And they're not going to go outside of their comfort zone, because they'll lose their license, and they're not going to do that.
well, once somebody finds the appropriate standard of care, such as the one that you provide, when they finally get locked onto a program that's effective and working and everything, how much would you say that their mindset and mental capacity plays a part in their battle?
Well, I mean, that's a really interesting thing to talk about, right? Because this is called holistic medicine for a reason. And a lot of people's brain capacity is under functioning, but they don't know that it's under functioning because they've gotten used to it, right? For instance, the human body, here's a little fun fact to know and tell that you will never be taught by a medical doctor. Your body is a battery. The stomach provides the acid, the bones provide the base. The positive pole is the brain, and the negative pole is the liver. So if your liver is funky, your brain isn't going to be able to work the way that nature intended it to. If you are taking antacids, which everybody is, because everybody's got heartburn, and oh, by the way, heartburn isn't caused by too much stomach acid. It's caused by not enough stomach acid. Let me say that again. You've been lied to. Heartburn is not caused by too much stomach acid. It's caused by not enough stomach acid. So when you take a proton pump inhibitor or an antacid into your stomach, it completely eradicates your stomach acid. So there goes the battery. So what's going to happen when that happens? You aren't going to be able to think straight. But you're not going to know that you're not able to think straight, because you have no perspective on it. So one of the benefits to following the holistic method, well, all of a sudden your stomach acid starts optimizing itself. All of a sudden your liver starts optimizing itself. All of a sudden the body starts working the way that it should have worked from from your entire freaking life. Now switches start turning on that you've never been on in your whole life. So your outlook is different. Your mentation is different. Your sleep is different. Your intuition is different. Everything is different, better different, because it's your potential. You are not living up to your potential because you cannot drug your way to health. It's impossible. You cannot do it.
I would say, I mean, I contribute my initial how I got ahead of my cancer. I contribute that to maybe the cocktail, the fenbendazole medicine or whatever. But really, mostly what I did was I changed my lifestyle. And it wasn't about what I started eating. I didn't do a diet where I started eating special things. I just stopped eating the shit that was killing me. So that was really what it was. It wasn't like I just stopped living like a glutton slob. Like I just pushed away from the table. That was it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you put diesel fuel into an unleaded engine, the car's going to run like crap, and there's nothing wrong with the engine.
Yeah.
You're just using the wrong fuel. But that begs the question, Kevin, why were you eating all those foods?
Indoctrination.
Because society pushed you that way. And that was done on purpose, is my point. That was done on purpose. You have been played. You have been socialized into eating all this shit on purpose to make you sick.
Yeah. So Tony the Tiger, the cartoons, that's not no good. So it's no, right? Like oatmeal. I thought oatmeal was like, there's a Quaker guy on it. That's awesome,
right? Oh man, we could really go down this rabbit hole, man. But yeah, it's a big bad voodoo daddy. We've been played. There's crap in the air, crap in the water, crap in the food, and everybody's under-nutrified. And then everybody tries to fix their medical problem by throwing a drug at it, and that's just a bad idea.
What do you do?
What do you mean? I'm 65 years old.
What do you? I mean, how do you survive?
Do I look like I'm 65?
No.
I'm 65 years old. You should see my brothers. It's not genetic. So on a regular basis, I take the 90 essential nutrients into my body. I know how to do that because not all nutritional supplements are created equal. And by the way, I don't make any money from the sale of nutritional supplements. I've divorced myself from that revenue stream because I don't want people to think I'm promoting it because I've got skin in that game. I'm promoting it because it freaking works.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be number one. Somebody has to win the gold medal. All wine is made from grapes, but there's a big difference from bottle to bottle. Not all chicken soup is the same. It depends on the recipes and the ingredients and how you make it, right? It's a difference. It's the same with nutritional supplements. I've been doing this for 35 years, man. I know which nutritional supplements suck and which nutritional supplements are really, really great. And those are the ones that I advocate, and I don't make any money from it. So what do? I take the right nutritional supplements into my body on a regular basis because those essential nutrients are not in the food and my body needs them. So I do that, number one. Number two, there are 12 foods that I don't even look at, let alone eat. And that list is on my website. It's called the 12 Bad Foods.
Okay.
Number three, once a year, I do like a 45-day detox. And every quarter, I do a 3-day full moon kill the parasite plan. It's a remarkably effective anti-parasite program. It's called the Full Moon Parasite Cleanse. It's extremely effective. And most importantly, when I do become sick with something, I get a little joint pain here, or I get a little indigestion there, or I get a little this, or I get a little of that. Whenever those things happen, I treat them holistically. I don't suppress them with drugs. I treat them holistically by stimulating my body to fix itself. And that's a whole nother conversation maybe we're going to have to use for another time. But so I'd like to leave you with this, right? With this little tidbit to just get people thinking, and then we can dive into it at another time. Don't you think it would be prudent for your healthcare practitioner to have a working definition of health? You want to see your medical doctor's head explode? The next time you're in their office, ask them to define health and see what they say. They will not be able to do it. And if they don't know what health is, if they do not have a working definition of health, how can they possibly help you to achieve it? Well, they can't, because they don't practice healthcare. They practice disease management. And you just need to know that, because sometimes you need them. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they'll save your life. But they don't practice healthcare. They practice disease management. And you need to know what that is. And the next time Kevin is kind enough to have me on, I will give you the working definition of health, and I'll walk you through the whole thing, and it'll blow your freaking mind.
Dr. Glidden, I got to tell you, I waited a long time for this interview, and it was well worth the wait. I am so very grateful. I'm going to have all of your stuff posted on this video, and it'll be on all my channels, and most certainly on my website, btcancertoday.com. And I'm just so very grateful for your time. I mean, you've been very generous with your time, and you actually held my hand and walked me through a couple things prior to this interview, and you've really given me guidance that honestly my health wouldn't be where it's at otherwise if it hadn't been for information that I gleaned from you. So I'm very grateful for just you doing what you do.
Well, it's very kind of you, Kevin. It's very kind of you, so I appreciate the kind words. I don't get enough kind words these days. I appreciate it. But it's kind of like, it's like the fella said, man, once you've embraced the truth, you're in its velvet grasp forever. And it's like, I can't not tell people this stuff because it's true, it's valid, it works, and I would not be able to sleep at night, if I retired, went to Tahiti, and just shut up. I couldn't do that. I mean, I can't do that. I am compelled to disseminate this information. So this platform is freaking fantastic. Don't ever stop doing what you're doing. And I would encourage you wholeheartedly to move all of your stuff to the web platform, and to have all of your podcasts and everything that you do anchored on your website.
Yeah.
That's what I do. It's not that hard to do it. And that way you avoid censorship, and you can talk freely, and that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick.
Doc, you are doing God's work, and I appreciate your accessibility. I'm overwhelmed with the attention that you've given me for no particular reason. So thank you so much for doing everything that you do, for making these videos, for just, guiding me through the challenges of the battle with cancer. I just wish I could tell you a lot of stuff that I gleaned from your videos. So, all right, that's that. Hey, thank you so much. I'm excited. This was everything.
Let's do it again, Kevin. Just get in touch with me. Let me know how I can help, and, right back at you.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you for everything. We will circle back, and we'll do this again soon.
Very good.